So Adrian, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little about what your company does and why you're here?
Sure. It's the United States Disaster Response Coalition. We represent all people in the space of disaster recovery, resilience, relief, what have you. We, many years ago, my house was destroyed in Katrina. That's another story. But I saw that the government, the links between the government who are making the initial call on a response and the responders has increasingly gone to the private sector. So there has to be a link between government and the private sector. And my background in politics and background in the governmental consulting field, I said this is somewhere where I can really make an impact. Because everybody over here in government, when we go into a disaster situation, I need debris removal, I need mobile power, I need mobile fuel, I need mobile feeding operations, I need just I need housing to figure out for emergency contractors, I need this, I need that. And normally most governmental entities, they're all running around, I would say drinking from a fire hose, but they're pretty much getting sprayed in the face with a water cannon when something happens. So I saw that need and I created the Lobbying Association. Because there's another thing too, is it your people that are affected by disaster. Residents, business owners, even your local type government operations, your schools, your local government, your churches, everything on down the line, they start looking to elected officials for answers. And elected officials in that stream are all the way from municipal to county or parish level like we have here in Louisiana to, state level to federal level. And I have noticed a remarkable lack of coordination amongst all of them. To the extent and up to where if there's a disaster event, a lot of times I find myself at the epicenter on bringing 2 or 3 staffers. Just, well, FEMA's calling me about this, HUD is calling me about this, while the local fire department chief needs X, Y, and Z. I'm like, okay, we'll call, so-and-so with Region 4 here with FEMA. But really what I wanted to do is I wanted to make the way the government responds to disaster better for people who own businesses who are affected directly, because I've been through this whole process.
So that's, and your experience has been rich in this. So when we connected, it was over money.
That's right.
So nothing happens until there's money. So tell us how you saw that Payments as a Lifeline was fitting in to the money piece.
Many years ago, so a couple different ways. Many years ago, I told people, I said, you need to start up these little recovery villages. Tide and crew come in with their mobile washing machines, different entities come in and help them out with basic services. Do you need clothes? Do you need, washing clothes? Do you need stuff? The ASPCA usually comes in for stuff with your pets, for food, and things like that. The one thing they were not doing was the financial side of the equation, both for people who were affected and for responders. And a lot of times, one of the common complaints that I'm getting from responders is, we're not getting paid. Sure, we're asked to come in right away, drop what you're doing, start now, get this fixed, get it dewatered, get it cleaned out, remediate it, and then the construction comes in, and then when it comes time to pay the bill, well, call so-and-so with this agency, we'll call so-and-so here, or this bank, or this insurance company. So having a reliable financial backstop and guarantee to disaster responders is pivotal, because now you've got a lot of smaller contractors like you were talking about, diversity-based contractors, what have you, that don't want to really do this.
They don't want to respond.
Because they know, like, man, am I going to get paid 90 days, 120 days, and they have to pay all their people up front. They have to satisfy those needs. So
well, we're going to continue this again, but one of the things you had talked about was how essential it is, especially as we're trying to be more inclusive and having more small and medium businesses serve. You got to pay people so they can pay people.
If you want to empower and build that part of this equation, you are going to have a reliable financial portal service like you
platform network
like you provide.
Yeah.
It's essential. It is becoming an ongoing problem. I've watched different disasters in different states and different cities and the way the response is. But I think, and this is just my opinion, is that if you had a portal that the federal government types can lock in, can link into, state government types can link into, the municipal governments can link into, and it has a provider such as yourself that they can say, okay, well, go log into this portal just like you would for FEMA, and this backs up the financial part of the equation, and it's seamless. Because a lot of times, and I've mentioned this, and I talked to y'all about this, where the financial breakdown occurs is the HUD goes, okay, state, here's your community block development grant money. And then for whatever reason, politics start getting played, and nobody winds up getting what they need. The politicians get upset because their constituents are not being serviced, nothing is growing, and you have this, economic shock like we were talking about in craters.
Thank you for agreeing to serve on our advisory council for
Sure.
PAL. And part of what we'll talk about next, and I know you need to go, but what we'll talk about next will be around getting that money into the hands of the right people at the right time for the right purpose, and controlling for spend, fraud, and abuse. So you get all that transparency.
Sure.
Like you told us earlier, we just don't get.
Well, one thing that they're not servicing, because now when disaster response is key for the private-public partnerships, this is the one part of that they haven't quite all got figured out yet. So therein, you guys bring in a very, to me, critical part of this equation that needs to be addressed. Is it legislation, state level? Some states do it right, some states don't. Some states do it right, some don't. I do find that the federal government has gotten, exponentially better at this. But then there's the Stafford Act that comes in. But if you tied something into the Stafford Act that created this financial platform, portal, what have you, with providers with you guys link in to everybody in the equation, that would really be huge help.
And bring the PAL coalition in. Thank you very much.
Sure, absolutely. Enjoy it. Thanks a lot.